Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I do hope you've all had a fabulous week. I have, and can't wait to get back into this realistic drawing of an eye and the skin around it. So I'm hoping that you've all practiced and you've all got to the point that I've got to. We will be carrying on today with deepening those darker areas and making sure that the eye pops and that we get a really good round pupil and eyeball coming out of the socket. So if we look at this today and we study it again, we can see that we've got a bit of light source here. That is lighter, that area, than this one at the bottom. And we can see that this is darker. So the light, I am imagining, is coming more so from this side than it is from anywhere else. Although if I look here, it's also fairly light here too. So perhaps it is from this sort of direction. And hence we are getting this beautiful light reflection across the eyeball on that side. So let's continue. I will be moving on to a 4B pencil. To start deepening those darker areas. I'm going to be starting with the actual eyeball. I want to get these dark areas in, and a lot obviously deeper the tone. We spoke about tonal values in one of my first tutorials. Tonal value is really important. Otherwise you end up with a very, very flat drawing. And that is what we are not wanting to do here. We are wanting a beautiful 3D eyeball. And eyes are one of my favorite things to draw, whether it be animals or whether it be humans. They are just incredible to draw because of the amazing structures in them, in the irises, and obviously the reflections that you get. So let's just take this out to nothing on that side, and let's start deepening and darkening. You can see immediately, I mean, I'm hardly even touching the paper here with this 4B, but these pencils are really fantastic. They really deliver. If you haven't gotten yourself a set yet, I do recommend that you invest in one. I know a lot of people use mechanical pencils. They're okay. I'm not saying that they aren't. It is a preference. It's certainly not my preference. I do far prefer pencils over mechanical pencils. But that's something that you need to discover for yourself, because on your art journey and as you progress, you will need to discover what it is that you prefer and what works for you in your art pieces. My reason for preferring a pencil is because I can control the points, whereas with a mechanical pencil, it's quite difficult to control. They're very, very sharp. You can get a mechanical pencil with a fat lead, but then invariably if they are a fat lead, they're also quite a dark, deep degree. You know, we spoke about degrees in one of our first videos where we were talking about getting to know your materials, and degrees are from the H's to the B's. That's a degree. So generally like what I'm working with now, you do get a fat one in that, but then with the H, which I absolutely adore, and the 2Bs, you generally are stuck with quite a fine point, and that's not really my style. So you can already see that by just doing these edges, we're going to be blending them now, because you know that your blender is your best friend. Well, it is mine. That we'll start creating a beautiful round eyeball. And previously, where we put in all these little shadows, we can start darkening them ever so slightly, not putting a huge amount of pressure on. Always remember, less pressure and you can rectify it at the end of the drawing should you need to, because if you press too hard, you're going to push the graphite into the paper and there'll be very, very little room for lifting and for rectifying your errors at the end of it. So try to have a very, very light feel. This also comes with practice. And sometimes when you do lay it down lightly, it doesn't look like it is enough. But rather have that than have a situation of where it's so deeply pushed into the paper that you cannot lift it when you need to. Because drawing, this sort of drawing is all about layering. Layering is so important. And obviously with layering comes some lifting, so that we ensure that we are putting down the correct tones. So here you can see that it goes very, very light and very, very light here. That is a lot deeper than what that is. So that's what I'm trying to, sorry, it's gone off of the video. So this is the area here that I'm working on now. Let me get back to that. My apologies for it going off. Just want to make this a bit wider. And that touches the actual lid, so we'll be putting that in. And then you can see that around the lid here, the bottom, is a dark line. So let's put that in. Please be sure to subscribe if you are enjoying these tutorials. It really does help me carry on. Gives me the confidence knowing that there are people out there that are enjoying my tutorials and that it's worth my while actually uploading, and that it's actually worth my while uploading every week. As I am, I'm trying very, very hard to be very consistent, because I do understand that that is what we require. I certainly require consistency, that's for sure. Okay, so I'm moving on to the blender now, having put in those deeper, darker lines, and you can see immediately the blender gives it a beautiful 3D look. We're already starting to get that roundness of that eyeball. Take this section here, move it down lightly into that corner, and blend that out. You want to maintain this sliver of white here, but it does have a little bit of grey to it. We'll fix that in a moment, or at least I'll fix that in a moment. Be very, very careful when blending down the bottom here that you don't go into your white light that you have been protecting and ensuring is at the bottom of the eyeball and the bottom of the lid. So as you can see, some of these marks that I've made with that 4B do disappear, but what it does give me is it gives me enough graphite to work that indentation, or it looks like an indentation, around the actual iris. It's almost as if there's a shadow around the iris, which gives it a bit more depth. I just want to pull those out so that it looks a bit more organic. Can add a bit more here. There is a bit more on that side. I've pushed this up into, by mistake, I pushed this up into the reflection, so I'm just going to take that out. I just want to make sure that this is highlighted properly. I love this wiggly line that goes up. I just want to make sure that we have that. So you can put that in as well. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we're certainly going to try and get it as best as we can. We can take our blender and pop those back in again. There's a very, very light line that goes up here, shadow that goes into that reflection. It's interesting because reflections are usually incredibly clean. You don't usually get these sort of reflections within a reflection. But that's what's so interesting and so nice about this one, is that it is so different. I'm just going to darken this area. It's always darker on the top of the eye where the eyelashes are and the lid closes. You can bring that down because there are a lot of eyelashes in that area. And we can start putting down some more graphite into this area. Now you can see that I had too much on my blender here. This area here is too dark. Although these eyelashes do go down, and that is a very, very dark area. Maybe if I just do that, that will help. This is still too dark here. So I'm going to lift some of that out with my kneaded eraser. You can see that there's light here, and this is definitely an area here that is lighter than that or that. So if we can just maybe try and put that in. I'm going to carefully put it in so that we can see that that is where that shadow goes up to. And when I say carefully put it in, make sure that it isn't a hard line. We spoke about hard and soft lines, and we definitely want this to be a soft line. There's no hard lines here except these veins that are running through here, and the eyelashes are hard. So we definitely don't want that. And if you look at it, this is curved. If I put my, what can I use here? If I put my pencil down on it, you can definitely see that that is curved. And that would be going in line with the actual eyeball shape. So we're just going to put that in. Going to bring this up, just making sure that I have got that all blended and I don't have any, as I say, hard lines. I'm going to take that out, remove it, and then it will also take away any hard lines that are there. So you may not be able to see this, how can I say, like it's not obvious. But that's the whole point of this. If you didn't have it in there, you would definitely notice that it wasn't there. So it's very important that you just use a very, very soft hand to get that shadow in, because definitely it will definitely help with the actual roundness of the eyeball itself. And do be careful how much graphite you have on your on your blender, because as you saw, I put down way too much. So now we're getting the details in of the actual eyeball itself and creating that 3D look, which an eyeball obviously has. We're now going to work on some of these details around this edge of the eye here. You can clearly see that they are very, I'm actually going to use my 2H. A 2H is the most wonderful pencil or degree to lay things down without doing too much to it. So it gives you the result, but it's hardly there because of being a 2H, and it's just a beautiful pencil to work with. I use a 2H a lot. I always tell my students, don't throw your 2Hs away. It's the first thing that people or beginners want to do, is to throw away their 2Hs, and they are so useful on so many levels. So I've just pulled that line out ever so slightly. If you look at the eyeball, the actual picture, you can see that there is a lighter area there. So I've just pulled that out ever so slightly. There isn't a dark line around this one like there is on that side, around this side. So we're not going to put that in, but we are going to work towards pulling out some of those light areas around this. So I'm also going to use some of this graphite and move it up into this top section here. I'm trying to keep the drawing in the view of the video, because I know how annoying it is when you're trying to follow a tutorial and you can't see it. It's one of my biggest bugbears. So I am trying very hard to keep it in view. So I think perhaps my bugbears might be yours too, but let me know. I have some amazing comments, really beautiful comments, and I thank you, those that are subscribing and who follow me. Honestly, I feel really honored. But if there's anything that you feel I could be doing, I would appreciate those comments too. I'm open to suggestions. So we're going to pick up some graphite from here where it is darker and very carefully put it into this area here. I said to you on the last tutorial that this area I found quite difficult to. This is my nemesis, this area here. I'm not sure what your nemesis is, but this is definitely my nemesis. And this is such an important part of the drawing. So I desperately try to get it right. This is darker here, substantially darker. I'm going to take my 4B and I'm going to put in this line. This line is really dark and it definitely does make a difference. And it's not a perfectly straight line because it's obviously skin, and skin doesn't really fold in a straight line, does it? So I'm not too perturbed if it isn't straight. In fact, it's probably better that it isn't. And can bring it round. And again, I'm going to blend it out. I know that there's an awful lot of blending, but this is what this sort of realistic work is all about. There you can see immediately that it makes a big difference and it does look better. And I've got a texture there from the paper, which is great. So this part is almost under the fold, and this part is on top. So you need to make sure that you have observed that and that you're getting that look. I'm going to put this back in here, just here, just so that it gives that impression. Right, so this is going very, very well, I think. I feel. I hope you're pleased with yours. So to pull these out, they're getting a little lost with all the blending that's going on, which is normal. Right. Just need to make sure that we have got these. If you look at this shape, it actually goes in line with that one at the bottom. So this almost follows that. So I'm just making sure that I'm getting that in. And then we can take our blender and we can put it across the bottom here. There is some light in the bottom of the lid here, so we need to be mindful of that. But we can take it out and take it down. It's always wider at the bottom. Do be careful, because it's always wider at the bottom here as the eye opens on the side to when it goes towards the tear duct. It gets slimmer and slimmer, or thinner and thinner, however you want to say it. But do be mindful of those light reflections here. Try and go under. I've done it there, and then go up into nothing over here on this side. Right. That is. Just need to move this mark off of there. Okay. Right, so we have got that. All the basics down of the actual eyeball. I'm just blending this slightly out because it's not exactly a straight line here. You can see that there is a grey area here. So I just want to get that in. Just going to make this slightly darker across the bottom here, just to define that into the tear duct. There we go. I'm just going to define this one at the top here too, because it is darker across there. And again, very, very light touch. This whole drawing is done on a very, very light touch, so that if you need to erase, you can. As I said to you before, as soon as you put down too much graphite on the paper and you fill the tooth of the paper, you will battle to lift it. And that's something that you don't want. You want to be able to lift it, especially if you feel that, you're not happy with an area. This is what is so wonderful and forgiving about graphite, is that you can lift any area as long as you haven't lain down too much. So just want to get this shape. And you can see that this is very, very bright around here, around this area. Very, very bright here indeed. Right, so let's move on to the veins in the eye. So I'm going to put them in with a 2B. Oh, my apologies, with a 2H. They go across this first one. I'm going to do this first one first. It comes across from this corner, almost touching, and it is that far away from the tear duct. So if we can make that mark first, let me just get rid of some of the pencils here. So it comes to about there. And I don't think it really matters whether you get this perfectly right or not. It is what it is about is that we fill in these lines on the eye so that it's more realistic. It does come back up and touch, and then it comes down the bottom here. So let's get that in. And the reason I'm doing this with a 2H is just to map it out. I'm now going to put in this one, and you can see that these connect towards the eyeball. So that one comes here underneath that. And forks out. And it goes all the way along here into there. And that fork also does that too. So I've connected that, so that I've done that, and now I need to do this at the bottom. So I'm just going to take that down and take that there. This one that we first drew, oh, excuse me, goes down towards this fork and goes up. We just need to be mindful that the one at the top continues across. So this one here continues all the way across up into this iris. Let's draw this one across the top here very, very carefully and up that way. So this goes from this one, goes up, comes across, down, does this, and then it forks out from about here, goes across, and it looks as if it comes over underneath these eyelashes that are poking down into the eye. I'm just going to get it to connect into that. This one also has a fork that comes out that way, so I'm just going to put that in. And then we have all of these in the bottom area that we can put in. There's one that comes across here. This goes out there. This goes out there, and they literally crisscross all over. So I don't think we really need to follow an exact science here, as long as we have a similar sort of crisscrossing of lines. There's a shadow here. There's a shadow from the top here on this particular vein, so I'm going to do that. There's one that comes down, there's one there, and then there's one that comes down from here and it goes underneath here. So I'm going to put that in as well, because I do think that that is important. And they really do crisscross all over here. Like I say, I don't think it really matters You don't follow an exact science. I think it is all just about getting these veins in, and that the viewer can see that there's a lot going on down here. Right, so those are in, and you can clearly see that some are a lot darker than what others are. So let's do that with our 4B ever so lightly. So I'm going to make these darker. These two, I'm going to start with those. So that would be from there. There. Then it comes down. And I haven't really followed what I put in, but that's fine because we have identified that there's a lot going on here. And then I'm going to put this one in across the top. There really is a lot going on here. It's a wonderful, wonderful eye. I have quite a few people who ask me to draw them, and I'm very, very particular as to whom I draw, purely because I love interesting, different detail. This is one of the detail that I absolutely love, and I would choose definitely to do this. Be very, very careful when you touch on this, just to blend it out ever so slightly, because we are going to lose some of the detail that we've already put down. That is normal. Like for instance, this we've lost because we've put down a deeper, darker area, but because we mapped it out to begin with, we can easily pick it up again. And I'm going to darken this area because this is definitely a lot darker down the bottom here than what I have it. I'm not happy with this particular vein here. I just feel that it's a bit too sharp, so I'm going to lift it out ever so slightly. That one too, ever so slightly. Put my blending back in. And that possibly does look better. Right. And bring it together just by lightly shading this area back in again. Just give this area here where the eye goes into the tear duct just a little bit more definition. Okay, so we now have that detail in, and I think it's looking really good. We can start lifting out some of the lights within the eyeball itself. This here, these, you can see it goes around in a circular motion. So let's try and get that lifted out. We'll start here, sort of in the semi-middle. Lift it out with the side of your tombow. Let's try and get it as organic looking as possible. I know it's not easy because the tombow can also go very, very blunt, and we're looking for sort of sharper lines here. So let's try and pull this out. Don't connect these yet. Just first get that in and then connect it like that. And then we have this area here that we just want to take this light out of. There's very, very fine light the top part here, so we can just pull that out very, very carefully, and then we can pull this out on this side. Okay, so we've pulled that out on the eye. We can go back in with our blender just to soften those edges and those lines. This is a difficult part to do because you don't want to lose that either, but you also want it to look a bit more organic. So just by softening it, it does look more organic than a very, very sort of blurry light. And then we're going to pull out these at the top here. So let's do that. Because when we put in the eyelashes, that should be there and will give a very, very nice effect, I think. A huge amount of light shapes at the top there. Right, we've got that out. I want to lift this light out that's going across here. I love this, and I just think it just adds to the eyeball. Right, so we have got that far. Going to put this line a little bit darker at the top here. Don't do a solid line, do a broken line. And when I say a broken line, what I mean is don't continuously do a straight line along this edge. Break it up and make sure it goes slightly higher, slightly lower, but within this crease itself, just to break that up and have it looking more like skin. So I'm going to deepen the inside of this with my pencil, get a bit more of a shadow. There we are, that looks better. And again on this side we can deepen the outside of this shadow to get that look. Okay. If we look at the top of this eyelid, we have a lot of light reflection here too that we need to pull out before we start putting in these eyelashes, because it's quite difficult to pull out highlights after you've put obviously eyelashes in. So we just want to pull this all out and make sure that we do the eyelashes over them. You can sort of pull out highlights afterwards, but it is so much easier doing it this way, believe me. Keep going along here. I know I'm using my fingers to brush off the debris of the rubber, and I've told you guys not to do that in a previous tutorial. I am doing it very, very lightly, not that it's an excuse, because we should not be doing it like that at all. But I don't know what I've done with my lovely large brush that I usually use. Somewhere in my studio. My studio is in a disarray because I had a commission to work on, which was watercolor, so totally different to what I'm doing now. It's one of my other passions. But yeah, so I don't know what I've done with that great big lovely brush. that I use to get rid of this debris. Okay, so I'm going to use my blending brush. We have taken out some of those highlights, the top of the lid, and we are now going to put in some eyelashes. For this we need a very, very sharp pencil, and again I use my 2H as a starting point. I just find that it gives a much, much better how can I say, depth to these eyelashes. There's a lot of them. You can see there's a humongous amount of them. So to map this out with a 2H first always helps in getting the placement correct. So let's start. I'm going to be starting on the corner here, although the print does go off the page, that's fine. We can also be doing it off the page as well. And these eyelashes generally go, and they are haphazard. So if I can do eyelashes here for you, they're not like this. They literally curl up and they are in bunches and they go across each other. And if the top of the lid is there, we almost want an organic look of all of these eyelashes. And here, where they're almost looking straight at you, we literally need to curl up on top of each other. You can see that they go across each other. They are haphazard. That is exactly what eyelashes do. And we are going to create that. We are going to create that organic look with these eyelashes going all over the place off of the top of this lid. Here, where it goes into the corner, they literally sweep under the eyelid. We've got one that comes across there. We've got one that is going across the eye on that side. And this is what we are going to create. We're going to go back on top of this with the 4B. Mine is not sharpened. I do need to sharpen it. And we're going to put in some of those darker ones so that we give it more depth. But you can see that the 2H definitely gives you a good grounding for where to put these and to make sure that you have the direction in the right order. Right, so let's get onto it. So starting with my 2H, as you can see, I have started, and these are all random. And you do need a lot of them in this area. You can see that there's a huge amount of eyelashes here. And as I said to you, eyelashes go all over the place. They are not, how can I say, uniform. Definitely nowhere close to that. So we want it, and they're also clumpy. So I'm literally going out and up, out and up, out and up. And this is what we want to be doing across here. You can see that there's an eyelash on the top of the lid as well, so we want to get that in. And we want to get these haphazard eyelashes that grow all over, come up and under. Go up, go into your eyeball. You can see that they go into the eyeball across the top of it, and that will give you a really cool look, because that is literally what we are seeing. Go the other way, go that way, and then we're going this side. Big scoopy C's that go, that clump. We've got one that comes down, we've got one that is underneath that one, we've got one that is here, We've got some that are in this part of the eye, one that goes across here. We've got them coming down into this top of this eyeball. There. And then they start going down this way. Am I too? No, I'm not too soon. Okay. They start going this way. So that's what we want to, the effect that we want to get, organic effect that we want to get. These eyelashes go over the top of the eye fold here, but here they don't. So we want to make sure that we get that sort of look. And then we do the bottom exactly the same way. These come out from below here, and I've already done the incorrect thing. So I'm going to remove those. It's good that you see mistakes, because this is what it's all about, and this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say to you, do not give up and keep on drawing, because mistakes are inevitable, mistakes are human, and it's how you learn. If you don't make a mistake, you'll never ever learn. And I'm all for mistakes. Obviously, if you keep on making the same mistake, that's a bit of a problem. One doesn't want to keep on repeating the same mistake. You'll frustrate yourself, that's for sure. But these are coming at every angle, and they are bunched up. They're even going across themselves here. So this is what we're going to capture. I can't work out if this is a male or a female eye, not that it really matters, but the top lashes are so thick. I kind of thought, okay, well, maybe it's a female, it's got mascara on, but I'm not sure, because these bottom lashes are so thick and long, luxurious looking. Just trying to follow what I'm seeing on the photograph. This is one that is long here, and there's some very, very fine ones, but our 2H should pick it up when we go over it with our 4B. We should be able to pick that up. I just want to see if my 4B could be sharp enough to do this. So I'm going to randomly pick out some of them, but I'm going to especially be doing these, because this is where most of the work is happening, going across the eye. And I'm going to be doing a couple of these just to get that dark look in. And especially around this side. And like I said to you, we're all in this drawing together, so we're all in it. We haven't stepped back to look at it, which is what we will do as soon as I finish this video. You must please just step back and look at what it looks like and rectify the areas that you don't like. I'll also make sure that the photograph is in a position that you are able to do a screenshot, and you can crop it and then print it off for your own use. This is off of Unsplash, so it is free. So please feel free to do that. if you want to follow along with this particular photograph, or you can choose your own. It's entirely up to you. But there we have it. There we have our eyelashes in place. And when we do this, we will immediately pick out where the areas are too light. So we would have to go in and darken those, which is completely natural with a drawing like this. I can already see this area here needs a little bit more depth. But that is completely natural when you are building up a drawing like this. Even this area here can be darker. So but that we will continue with when we come back to this, to continue with the skin area around it. Also, if we need to rectify anything in the eye itself, we will be doing that too. I just want to put these eyelashes in here. This is a reflection of these eyelashes. So again, do this with your 2H, and you can add just 1 or 2 with your 4B, just so that it definitely looks like a reflection. And there we go. We will continue with this next week, but so far I think it's looking really good. I hope you guys are enjoying this, and I hope you guys are feeling how I am feeling about it, that it is starting to look really good, and you are feeling, as you know, that you are accomplishing a 3D eyeball, because that is what this tutorial is all about. I'm trying to do a sort of a realistic type of drawing, and here I'm just trying out with a few markings around the edge, see what it looks like. It seems to be adding a bit more depth to it, so I'm going to leave it, I think, like that. And we can continue filling in this eyeball with these beautiful markings. You may continue yourself, go on with it, if you feel that you have the confidence, which I'm sure you do. And we'll continue with this next week. In the meantime, everybody, have an awesome week, and do keep on drawing, do keep on practicing, and I'll see you again next week. Do subscribe if you've enjoyed this, and do give my YouTube tutorial a like, please. It helps me keep going. Bye bye.